Hi friends. On the previous occasion, we had the opportunity to consider what exactly was the history of Civil Procedure Code. Now let us first understand in this video as to what is the basic foundation with which a civil proceedings would start. Let me give you a very interesting background how exactly a litigation starts. For a moment, imagine a position where one of the client approaches you with his grievance, with his or her grievance. What is the first thing which you would talk to your client? Of course, all of you must have undergone the client counseling training, wherein you, as soon as you come across a client, the first and foremost thing what you would do is ask what is the problem which your client is facing. That is, you will want to understand the litigation which you are going to institute on behalf of your client. So the first step would be to understand what your client wants and what the client has come to you for. So if at all a client has approached you saying that his neighbor has encroached a portion of his land, your land, or your client's land, or your client has approached with you stating that the neighbor has encroached his right to privacy, the first thing what you would ask yourself is, what are the laws which are applicable in the facts which you are trying to approach? What are the different types of laws which would be applicable to the facts of the case on hand? So let's assume for a hypothetical situation wherein a client has approached saying that, look, I have my property behind the property of another party, and he is not allowing me to enter that property from the main road. So basically your client's right to approach his property through a road or through a pathway is obstructed. So what are you going to do now? The first thing, as a lawyer, you will appreciate the fact that there are different types of laws which you need to understand. What laws would be applicable in the given situation? So the first law which crops up to the mind is right of way. So where do we go to claim right of way? Now the law which would be applicable so far as right of way is concerned, it is definitely Easements Act. Easements Act which provides a right to a party to walk across the property which is adjacent to a main road so that you have an access to your own property. It might be a pathway or a roadway which is reserved to approach your client's property, or it might be an access through the property of another person, owned by another person, which is called as an easementary right. So Easements Act. So you go to study that your client's right to approach his property is traceable under the provisions of Easements Act. The second law, what would be applicable? What do you need to be declared? You need to be declared that a right of way exists in favor of your client. Where do we go? What is the law which is applicable? Immediately what would strike the moment is the provisions of Specific Relief Act, namely section 34, which gives you a right to seek declaration before a court of law. Second aspect, what exactly do you want from the court? You would not be satisfied with only a declaration of right. You would also want the court to stop somebody from interfering your client's right to approach the property. What is the remedy? It would once again strike the fact that section 38 of Specific Relief Act provides for an injunction relief or a permanent injunction to restrain the other party from interfering with the right of way. So these are the two acts which will become handy for you for the purpose of realizing the fact that your client's right of way needs to be protected. With this background, what do we need to do is file a civil suit. Now, these sort of rights are called as civil rights, vested. So, civil rights are nothing but personal rights which are with or vested with a client. This needs to be implemented through process of court. How do we do it? We need to file a civil suit. That is when the relevancy of how exactly a civil suit has to be filed before a civil court comes. So your remedy is to file a civil suit before a civil court which has got competent jurisdiction. These are the aspects, friends, are covered under the procedural law, which is Civil Procedure Code. How a civil suit could be filed. Now, how do we file a civil suit? What is the basis for filing a civil suit? The first and foremost, friends, what is required is presentation of a pleading. What does Civil Procedure Code speak about pleadings? Pleadings are nothing but statements in writing drawn up and filed by each party to a case, stating what is his contention, which will go for a trial, and giving details and informing his opponent that this is his case which he requires to be pleaded. So now, what is presented before the court of civil in nature under the provisions of Civil Procedure Code is called as a plaint. Now, Order 6, Rule 1 of Code of Civil Procedure speaks about what is a pleading. It just briefly gives you a definition saying that pleadings are plaint and written statement. It goes no further. All other pleadings are either additions to the plaint and written statement or an add-on written up to the already existing pleading. So friends, a plaint is presented before a court. How exactly this is filed? Now, section 26 of the Code of Civil Procedure speaks about the presentation of a plaint or the institution of a suit. I will just read how a suit is instituted. Section 26 subsection 1 says, every suit shall be instituted by the presentation of a plaint or in such other manner as may be prescribed. Now, the latest amendment to section 26 says that there shall also be an affidavit verifying the pleadings. That amendment has come by virtue of the 99 amendment with effect from 1/7/2002. So friends, the plaint is presented which contains all the facts which are required to be placed by your client so that the court could adjudicate the said matter once notice of this pleading is forwarded to the other party. Now, the basic principle what we need to understand is what should a plaint contain or a pleading should contain. The pleading should contain concise form of the material facts on which the party pleading relies on. Maybe it is for the claim or for the defense. So far as defense is concerned, we'll deal it separately. While speaking of the plaint must contain a concise facts on the basis of which you are building up your client's case. The rule of pleading is you cannot plead evidence. Your pleading must contain only material facts and those facts which are relevant, which the party relies on for the purpose of proving it before the court of law. What other things are required? If the matter is pertaining to a fraud committed on your client, now this particular fact needs to be pleaded before proof. A clear pleading explaining what is the fraud which is committed on your client needs to be proved. Of course, I was dealing only with an easementary right, which is a civil right, but while explaining what is to be contained in a pleading or a plaint, this needs to be explained. Coming to the fact that what else is required to be pleaded. Now, a precise form is found in Appendix A, which is an attachment to the Code of Civil Procedure, where you will find a format of how exactly a plaint must be drafted. In the case of a suit filed on the basis of misrepresentation, fraud, breach of trust, or undue influence, or willful default, in all such cases, particulars of these facts needs to be mentioned. However, as per the Karnataka amendment to the Civil Procedure Code, Order 6, Rule 6 also says, in a pleading, any condition precedents the performance or occurrence of which is intended to be contested, that requires to be pleaded. Similar is an amendment. Except by amendment to a pleading, any new ground cannot be pleaded. Now, that is where Order 6, Rule 17 comes into play, which enables a party to a proceedings or a civil proceedings to amend his or her pleading. Now, of course, there are several conditions which are there under Order 6, Rule 17 of Civil Procedure Code. On what circumstances a court can permit the parties to a proceedings to amend his or her pleading. Of course, there are some other technical things which are also required to be complied. That there has to be a verification contained in a pleading so that the party to the proceedings subscribes his or her signature to the pleading. Now, if there are any presumptions in law, then that necessarily must come as a part of the pleading. These are some of the things which are the basic requirement of a pleading in a civil suit. By virtue of the amendment to the Civil Procedure Code in the year 99, now we find that every pleading must be supported by a verification affidavit also, which includes a verification to the pleading where it contains the signature of your client, but also an additional affidavit which verifies that all the contents of the pleading is true to the best of his knowledge and belief. Now, so far as plaint is concerned, we will be moving over to Order 7 of the Code of Civil Procedure. And so far as a written statement is concerned, which is a statement filed by the opposite party or whom we term as the defendant, in contrast to the plaintiff who presents the plaint. Written statement is a pleading which shows what are the defenses of the defendant to the plaint claim made by the plaintiff. So that is contained in Order 8 rules, the following rules of the Code of Civil Procedure. So friends, this is a brief idea as to what should contain in a pleading, what is required to be stated in a pleading. Now, the details of what particulars are required to be pleaded in a plaint and what particulars are to be required to be pleaded in the written statement is a different aspect altogether, which I would like to deal with it in my following videos, which I'll be putting forth on a later date. Thank you, friends.